Good evening. Welcome to the March 27th. No, I'm sorry. I got the wrong date. Sorry.
May
8th. I'm sorry. Start all over again. Good evening. Welcome to the May 8th Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting. To my left is Carter Falk, who's the Deputy Planning Manager for the City of Nashua. Across the way here is Mr. Jack Currier. He is the Vice Chairman of the Zoning Board. We have Mr. Steve Lionel, Mr. Robert Shaw, Mrs. Estafia Boras, and Miss Marielle McKay is the Secretary, and my name is J.P. Boucher, and I serve as your Chair. Tonight we have 5 full-time voting members tonight, so Ms. Boras will participate in the meeting and discussions, but she will not vote unless one of us has to recuse ourselves. This meeting is recorded by written transcript, audio, video, and video recording. Please direct all testimony to the microphone, and only one person speak at a time, please. If you don't already have a copy of tonight's agenda, you'll find it on the chair on the side there near the waste bucket. Tonight we'll be hearing requests for deviations from the National Zoning Code in the form of applications for special exception and variances. I'll go over a special exception. A special exception is a request that seeks permission to do something that the zoning ordinance permits only under special circumstances. The 5 criteria for this board to grant a request for a special exception are: 1, the requested use must be listed in the table of use regulations as a special exception. 2, the requested use will not create undue traffic congestion or unduly impair pedestrian safety. 3, the requested use will not overload any public water, drainage, or sewer system or any other municipal system such that other areas of the city will be subjected to hazards affecting health, safety, or general welfare. 4, any special regulations for the use set forth in other sections of the zoning ordinance are fulfilled. And 5, the requested use will not impair the integrity or character of the district of adjoining zones, nor be detrimental to health, morals, or welfare of the residents of Nashua. A variance is a request that seeks permission to do something that the ordinance does not permit. The 5 criteria that need to be established for the approval of a variance are: the variance will not be contrary to public interest, the spirit of the ordinance is observed, substantial justice is done, the values of surrounding properties are not diminished, and literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in unnecessary hardship. Per the City of Nashua bylaws, a minimum of 3 or more affirmative votes are required to approve any application. Also, this board will hear all scheduled cases as long as a quorum of 3 voting members are present at this meeting, which we have tonight. Any citizen has the right to contest the decision that this board makes. Should we make a decision that you believe is an error, you have the right to request a rehearing. A written rehearing request must be received through Mr. Falk and the City of Nashua Planning Department within 30 days from the day after a decision was made. Should this board not grant a rehearing request, you could file an appeal directly to the New Hampshire Superior Court, and you can contact Mr. Falk for more information on that. Per our approved Zoning Board of Adjustment bylaws, the review and decision of each application occurs in 2 parts. The first part tonight, in every case tonight, is what we call the public hearing. This is where the applicant and citizens address this board and speak to the merits of the case. The order of testimony is as follows. The applicant will come up and have 15 minutes to present their case. Those in favor will have a limit of 5 minutes each to testify. Then those in opposition or with questions will have also 5 minutes to testify. Then the applicant has a chance to come back and has 5 minutes to speak in rebuttal to anything that was said previously in testimony. And then a representative and only one person of those in opposition or with questions will also have 5 minutes after that to speak in rebuttal. I'll ask you to please direct all the testimony to this board and not to the audience. If you have any questions of anybody that has testified that's in the audience, we will get those answered for you. The second part of the process tonight is what we call a public meeting. So this is where the board debates the merits of the case amongst ourselves. So So you'll be in the audience and you'll be observing our discussion and our decision on the case. Please note that during the public meeting, there is no testimony allowed from the audience. I'll ask you to silence your cell phones. If you need to have a conversation, please feel free to step out in the hall. This room has great sound, so we can hear everything that you do or say. So I just ask for your cooperation. Mr. Falk, is there any changes to the agenda tonight?
No, there are not.
Okay. Is there any questions from the audience before we get started? Okay, seeing none. I'm going to open up the public hearing for the first case. That is Rogers Mobile Home Park. Owner is the owner, 15 Shovel Street, Sheet D, Lot 107. They are requesting a special exception from the Land Use Code, Section 190-112, to work within 75-foot prime wetland buffer of the Nashua River to replace an existing mobile home dwelling unit. It's in the R9 zone, Ward 5. Please, welcome. Please just state your name and address.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Chris Gaida. I'm a certified wetland scientist and soil scientist with Fieldstone Land Consultants, and our place of business is 206 Elm Street, Milford, New Hampshire. I'm here representing Rogers Mobile Home Park tonight to request a special exception to work within the 75-foot wetlands buffer. What we've gone through so far is we've obtained a shoreline permit through the state of New Hampshire because the new mobile home is going to have a new slab basement as required by the regulations. We've also obtained a new septic design approved through the Subsurface Systems Bureau, DES, and we've also been through the Nashua Conservation Commission, walked the site with them, and they voted to approve allowing a replacement in the same location as we're proposing. You can see the blue here is the Nashua River. You
might want to take the microphone with you. Just pull it right out.
Thank you.
There you go.
The blue is the Nashua River. The orange is the 50-foot setback for the state shoreland protection. The 75 is in the pink for the city of Nashua setback. The chartreuse color here is the septic system, which we've kept beyond the 75 feet, meeting the state requirements to the river, as well as the buffer requirements for the city. The red here is the proposed new mobile home, which is going to be in the same footprint as the existing one. It's actually going to be a little bit smaller as far as the impervious area. Is going to be a reduction overall because the older home had some additions on there added on over the years. It's about a 1965 vintage home that's no longer serviceable. We're proposing to stay in the same location, maintain the existing pavement, all the existing utility connections, and unfortunately we can't get beyond the 75-foot setback there and still allow for the use of the property. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. I can go through the criteria for the Conservation Commission if you wish, or take any questions.
That's all part of the record right now, so it's up to you. Before we, anything else?
That's pretty much it. I could go on, but it's essentially, to recap, it's an existing mobile home since about 1963 when the park was created. It's been abandoned by the owner. City is taking it for taxes for what it's worth. Essentially, it's a health hazard right now. It needs to be removed and replaced. No expansion, same number of bedrooms, same everything. With the Conservation Commission, we did walk the site a little bit. There are a few invasive species in the area, which during construction, those are proposed to be removed by the park owner.
Before we ask for any questions, there is wetland special conditions. Are you aware of those, and are you testifying that you will comply with those?
Are you referring to the ones in the Nashua?
Right, the 9?
Yes.
Yes. okay.
Yep. I'd be happy to go through those.
I think unless somebody has questions, I think we'll accept the testimony that you'll comply with those.
Also, the board has the copy of a Conservation Commission letter that I believe I emailed everybody that Concom approved it. It just went last week.
All right, is there any questions? Mr.?
I didn't get a copy of the letter. Could you just tick through the requirements or make, oh, there's one right here, so I'll take a look at it. Thank you, I'm all set. I'm gonna look at this. So here, they're talking about 2 wetland buffer markers, and you're saying you're gonna meet that and again, remove the invasive species?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm all set.
Okay. Is there any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this application? Seeing none, is there anybody with in opposition or with questions or concerns? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and open the public meeting. Mr. Currier.
I'm fine with the application. I mean, I think we all need to remember that, you know, this park and these homes were placed long before there was any thought of wetlands protection. And as stated, this is just a replacement of an existing home. It's the footprint's going to be a little less, septic's going to be further away. So I think it meets all the criteria, and they have all the permits. And this applicant has been before the board with other applications not too different from this in the past and has always followed through with it, so I'm comfortable approving it as is.
Okay. Anybody else? Mr. Shaw.
I'm good with it.
Okay.
As am I.
Ms. Boris?
As am I.
Sure.
Yeah, same.
And I'm also good with that too, as Mr. Curry said, we've seen several cases there and at the other park there further up too, we've seen some cases. Anybody like to make a motion? Mr. Currier?
Make a motion on behalf of Rogers Mobile Home Park. Again, the address is 15 Sherrill Street, and again, the request is a special exception from Land Use Code Section 190-112, which is to work within the 75-foot prime wetland buffer of Nashua River. And this request is to replace an existing mobile home dwelling unit. As I mentioned, it's listed in the table of uses, 190-112. I think the board concludes that it will not create any undue traffic congestion or unduly impair pedestrian safety. It will not overload public water, drainage, or sewer or other municipal system. If anything, the sewer system is better designed with the proposal, which is further away from the river. The 9 special regulations are fulfilled by the written application and by the oral testimony of the applicant, that all 9 of those are adhered to. There's no special conditions I put on this motion. I make a motion to approve as presented tonight, and also just I would like to attach the minutes and the May 2nd, 2018 letter from the Nashua Conservation Commission to the record as well. So I make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lionel. Any discussion? Mr. Shaw?
I think you might have overlooked the 5th criteria. I don't think you actually spoke to that.
Oh, maybe I did overlook that. The 5th criteria, I think I did overlook it, thank you, was will not impair the integrity or be out of character with the neighborhood or be detrimental to health, morals, or welfare of residents. I believe the board finds this is not the case because it's just a replacement of an existing mobile home with a new, better one, and therefore it'll remain in character with the neighborhood. Thank you.
Mr. Lionel still
That's
second that?
acceptable, yes.
Okay. Any more discussion? All right, with that, all in favor of this application? That's 5. Nobody in opposition? This application passes. Good luck. And don't forget, there's a 30-day window of appeal in any case.
Yes.
Thank you. So I'll close the public meeting in the first case and open the public hearing for the second case. I'll read that into the record. Second case is for 1987 Tamposi Limited Partnership owner, 10 State Street, Sheet H, Lot 171, requesting variance from Land Use Code Section 190-16, Table 16-3, for a minimum open space, 20% required, 10% proposed, for a parking lot expansion. It's in the PI Zone, Ward 2. Welcome, Mr. Prunier.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. For the record, my name is Gerald Prunier. I'm an attorney with offices at 20 Trafalgar Square here in Nashua. I am here this evening with our engineer, Jim Petropoulos, and also with Mr. Sam Tamposi. 10 State Street is located off Amherst Street. This is aerial view. This is the site. This is State Street. This is Amherst Street. I know that you have all visited the site. It is a 64,000 square foot building used for warehousing. Presently, the building is empty and it's on about 4.5 acres. The building is located at the end of State Street, abutting the railroad. Railroad comes in this thing. This is State Street. This is where the building is located. It is in a PI zone that requires 20% open space. This PI zone in this area abuts a general business area on Amherst Street, which only requires 10% open space. So the buildings located on State Street and in this area are shuttered by the buildings on Amherst Street and in the rear, and don't have the public visibility that buildings on Amherst Street have in the GB zone, yet that requires less open space. 10th State Street is hidden from the general public and from most of the traffic. We are paving what is now a gravel area. When you were out there visiting, you saw a big gravel area. We're paving that gravel area. And to the best of our knowledge, this gravel area has been used as parking as the building has been used over the years. This is quite an old building. And what we are paving is in this particular area, as in that section of the building. When we finish, we'll only have 10% open space. That is the reason we're here for a variance. The use will be for warehousing and distribution, but it'll be under e-commerce. There's somewhat of a change going on in warehousing and distribution in this country as a result of the internet. This means that there will be conveyor belts, sorting packages, people in there sorting packages and bundles to be delivered. Most of the sorting is done at night. This applicant uses a lot of small vans. These vans, the next morning, start coming through the building, taking packages for certain areas to be delivered. The applicant will use approximately 100 vans, and that's why we need the additional parking for that particular area. The people come in the morning, park their cars, take the vans, move out, make their deliveries, come back at the end of the day, park the vans, take their cars, and go home. But during the night, this building is being used all the time, sorting packages for various areas. The packages themselves are delivered mostly during the evening, during the night, so they can be sorted out. And then the parking is necessary because of the fact of all the employees. Normally, you would have just trailer trucks. This is not the case. These trailer trucks drop the packages, leave, and there's going to be over 100 vans for servicing in this particular area for the Nashua area. Times have changed, and we need to have, since we've had the internet, and many new ways of doing things are happening. They're happening in the warehousing industry, in the distribution industry. The warehouse has trailers deliver the material, but the distribution to the various customers are all done by these vans to make it more efficient and get you your packages in a day that packages can be delivered. With the variance, we'll be able to use a building that was built many years ago, not anticipating the internet changes. This whole building in the interior will be retrofitted for conveyor belts and people working sorting so packages go for the different areas. The applicant will be able to use its property under the changing conditions. Conditions have changed, and as things change, our zoning ordinance doesn't change with them as fast. It does change, but it's not as fast. The spirit and intent of the ordinance will not change, as the 10% open space will remain. There will be open space. The use is not changing. There'll be no devaluation of the surrounding properties, and we're not going to be out of character with the neighborhood. Most of the buildings are either in the warehouse or manufacturing type of business. But I want to emphasize that one of the things is that this building is in the rear, abutting the railroad tracks, and it is being used for a new means of warehousing and distribution. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Mr. Lionel.
I have 3 questions, actually. The first is, Attorney Prunier, you have been repeatedly saying that they're going to 10% open space. The application says 5%.
We didn't have to go that low.
Okay, that's, I mean, more open space is better. That, I just wanted to clarify that. 2, looking at the, we have a letter from Pennachuck Waterworks where they've reviewed the water infiltration, and I saw the comment that they're planning on using porous pavement, and I found the fine print on the drawings saying that there was porous pavement being used there. So I assume that that is actually part of the plan.
You bring up an interesting point, Mr. Lionel. It used to be that they say lawyers had fine print. So I'm glad to see about the engineers.
Yeah. Okay, and my third comment is, it was interesting when you were talking about the 100 or so vans coming in, going out once a day, I gather. My recollection, there's no signals at Amherst Street on State Street, at State Street and Amherst Street. Has there been any consideration about traffic impact?
We've done a traffic report. We don't feel that there's going to be any traffic report, but that's the thing we'll have to discuss with the planning board.
Okay, so this still has to go in front of
It
the
has to go
planning
to the
board?
planning board.
Okay. I understand that that's not part of this application, but it was
I
an issue
understand the
that I
question.
raised. Okay,
It's a good question.
thank you, that's all.
Any else with questions? Mr. Currier.
I was wondering if you could clarify for me, because I also, in reading the Pennachuck letter, it looks like, there's more infiltration, or I was just wondering if you could give me the summary of what's being done to offset the increased pavement.
Mr. Courier, I can, but I'm sure Mr. Petropoulos can. So if I could, I'd like to ask him.
I'd appreciate that.
For the record, my name is Jim Petropoulos. I'm a civil engineer at Hayner Swanson, doing business at 3 Congress Street. And I think what Mr. Courier is asking is a quick explanation of the stormwater system. This part of Nashua is a very flat area, as you know, very sandy soils, and we've got high groundwater. And so that we had limited opportunities to capture both quantitatively and qualitatively the stormwater by this new, about a half an acre of new pavement that we're proposing tonight. We felt the best alternative was porous pavement, popcorn pavement as it's sometimes called. And if you're not familiar with it, runoff will hit this pavement. It'll work vertically through a soil layer. And those sand filters, those soils tend to filter out particulate and pollutants that are normally associated with stormwater runoff before it gets into the groundwater. So all new pavement will be run into porous areas. We exceed the quantitative limits that the state of New Hampshire DES sets forth for porous pavement. And it's one of the few options we have, but it's a good option here that captures water before it goes off-site, so.
Just out of curiosity, is this pavement about the same or more expensive than traditional pavement?
Much more expensive.
And then you say the runoff's going to be directed to areas where it's porous, and then
Yes.
it'll infiltrate from there.
Yeah, again, it's a flattish site, so very gentle grades that will lead into it, and all the new surfaces, there's 2 new areas, as Jerry mentioned. We're repaving the gravelled area here on the east side of the building, and then a green area over here on the north side is also being considered for pavement. There'll be 2 areas where we have porous pavement.
And is the pavement about as robust as other pavement over the test of time?
You know, for 100 years, engineers were taught, you know, you beat down the soil, you beat down the pavement, and that gives you good strength. And now we're taught, you know, keep stone and sand and loose pavement. So it's something you've got to maintain and keep an eye on. I don't believe it wears as well as normal pavement, but, you know, you have maintenance to it. You want to keep those pores open so that water continually over time. And I think, you know, when I look at some sites that have big sections of porous pavement, turning wheels and things tend to treat it more harshly than regular pavement. But we're only showing it in areas of where cars will be parked and not in the turning movements of the drive aisles. So we think we're better protected a little bit in that application.
All right, thanks.
Yep. Any other questions?
Yes, and just for the record, we have a letter here that you were copied on from Mr. Ware, who's a professional engineer and chief operating officer, and his goal, or his affiliation is strictly for the health of the water system, not for your project.
Sure.
Right? So we've got, and so at the end of the letter, it just summarizes that Pennachuck has no objections to the proposed project based on the facts delineated above. So as long as these facts are still true, they support the project.
Correct.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, just want to make that clear.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you.
Actually, one other question. Is this within the watershed
It is,
protection
yes.
district? Okay, and that's why Pennachuck?
And that's why any development within the Water Supply Protection District, Don, who's a very, very talented, capable engineer, reviews stormwater on their behalf.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions? None? Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak in favor of the application? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak in opposition or with concerns with this application? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and open the public meeting. Mr. Currier.
I'm find support for the application. I was curious whether this was in the watershed protection district, and then when I saw the Pennachuck letter tonight, I figured it was, and then it was confirmed tonight. So while I'm not crazy about a reduction to 10% from 20%, I was feeling, you know, seeing that it was in an area, you know, next to the railroad where it didn't have any impact or visual impact. So that offset the 10% for me. You know, the fact that the infiltration, the post-development is proposed to be better than the pre-development, you know, I think that's an important thing, and, you know, I give my support because of that. Even though there's more pavement, what's coming off of it, going right into our water supply, right near the end of it, where the pickup is, you know, it's gonna be coming out cleaner, so I think that's an important consideration that I take in to find support for it.